Chapter 21, The Magic Training Manual. "Everyone," called Angel, "I'm afraid it's bedtime, but if you all head off to bed, I promise you a morning free tomorrow to listen to the story again, once you've done your morning exercises." Everyone groaned. "Come on," said Blizzard. "Darling and I will make a big bonza breakfast for you, and Magal will even serve the drinks. Won't you, Magal?" Magal grinned. "I'm a kindness wizard," he shouted. "Of course I will." Darling flew up to sit on Blizzard's arm. "And I have a special announcement to make," she said. "Go ahead," said Blizzard. Darling looked very grand as she said, "Captain Stella has informed me that she'll be arriving tomorrow with thousands upon thousands of time fairies, so it will be a most splendid day." Everyone clapped and cheered. There were noises throughout Marescimar as everyone made their way to bed. Once they were there, though, they all slept like logs, dreaming of feral angels and tunnels and wild and wonderful kings and queens falling into mirrors and wondering what might happen when Toll started rescuing people from virtual worlds. The next morning, everyone at Marescimar was up early, walking, jumping, swimming, surfing, flying, stretching, running, doing yoga, and doing whatever else they could to show that they'd done some exercise before breakfast. Suddenly, the conch shell sounded all along the beach and out into the forest. I think it should be suddenly the conch shell boomed all along the beach and out into the forest. "Breakfast is served," came the loud announcement, and once everyone was ready with plates piled high, the morning reading session began. "It's my turn again," said Blizzard. "Ready?" "Yes," shouted the happy faces of everyone on the observatory's deck. "I'm not sure what happens first," said Nell, "but I'm going outside. I need some air. I need some fresh air." Without thinking, Nell went out her front door, and just as she reached the pavement, there was a sound on the street as Overlord Thieve appeared with two of Vancro Snark's guards. "Nell Dew," said the Overlord in a menacing tone. "I'd be careful if I were you." "Well, you're not me," said Nell, "so that's good." The Overlord squinted his eyes at Nell. "Still," he said, "be cautious, won't you?" "Always," said Nell, trying to sound confident. The Overlord looked her up and down. "You saw Isla this morning." "I did," said Nell. The Overlord smirked and looked at one of Snark's men. "I hear it was you who allowed the young criminal to escape," said the man. "I don't know what you're talking about." The Prime Minister's guard touched Nell's hair. "Do be very careful," he said, "won't you, Mrs. Dew?" Nell moved away and almost bumped into the Overlord. "You have some house guests," he said. "Might I meet them? I fancy a cup of tea." Nell could feel herself beginning to panic. She quickly telepathed Bill, "Hide the children." The Overlord started walking up the steps towards Nell's front door. The two guards followed him. "It's not convenient," said Nell. "Bill's not well, and our children all have a cold." The Overlord leered down at Nell. "I've heard that your boys have been messing around in the city's tunnels," the Overlord whispered. "I'd hate to think you were planning to abandon them down there." "What?" asked Nell, starting to feel angry. "Isla and I have started up an orphanage," he said, walking back down the steps. It would be terribly unfortunate if your children needed to go there." "Terribly unfortunate," said one of the guards, staring at Nell with his cold eyes. Nell felt suddenly very faint, and then a warm blanket seemed to cover her mind and body as she passed out. She was awoken from her fainting spell by the sound of her front door opening. Not realizing that Nell had already woken up, the Overlord slapped her on the face. Nell was about to tell the Overlord to get away from her when she heard Bill shout, "Move away at once!" The Prime Minister's guard sneered at Bill. "She fainted," he said. The Overlord was merely waking her up. Bill helped Nell to her feet. "I wanted to come in and meet your house guests," said the Overlord. "There are no house guests," said Bill, "and this conversation is over." The Overlord scowled as Nell and Bill went inside. I just changed that. The Overlord scowled. "I thought you were unwell," he snapped. "I am," said Bill, "so if you will excuse us." The Overlord grunted as Nell and Bill went inside. "He's evil," said Bill. "He's up to something," said Nell. "He was trying so hard to come into our house, looking for the guests he says we have." "How would he know?" "They're always sneaking around," said Nell, "and they have all those servants. One of them may have heard the children laughing." Bill gave a big sigh. "The quicker we get to the bottom of this, the better." Nell nodded. "Should we tell the police?" "Not yet," said Bill. "The Overlord and Isla will simply lie, and the kids will be in more danger. Let's keep them with us. That way they will be safe." Nell nodded. "At least the ice witches have found Jack," she said. "Do we know where she is?" "Safe," said Bill. "That's all I know." Nell gave Bill a hug. "Thanks goodness," she said. "It would have been disastrous if she'd not escaped." "I know," said Bill. "Why on earth are the thieves running an orphanage?" asked Nell. "Money," said Bill. "That's all they care about." When Nell and Bill reached the lounge room, the children could tell that something had happened. "What's up?" asked Toll. Nell shook her head. "Mum," said Tilly, sounding stern. Nell's eyes filled with tears. "You must all stay inside," she said. "Isla and her husband are not safe." Dodger pulled a face. "They are not," he said. Toll also pulled a face. "But I still have one more thing to do in the tunnels," he said. "Otherwise my project won't be finished." Nell widened her eyes. "No, Toll," she said. "Not today." Toll groaned. "I hate the thieves," he said. "We're all agreed on that," said Dodger.